Can I just say that the two guys started laughing a little bit when you said you didn't have an anger problem? So, I mean, not to start a fight here, but...
I'm feisty.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time on the channel, hit subscribe right now.
Sav, Don, David, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. In fact, one of you, I won't tell who, but one of you is taking their precious time break at work to have this conversation. So that makes me feel all warm inside. Just right off the bat, when I got the advanced copy of the album that's coming out, we get a lot of albums sent our way to check out. This was one of those where, in all honesty, first time I listened to the band and listened to the whole thing through, and I replied to your team and said, like, I want to do an interview. This is something different. This is cool. I want to talk to you guys. So we are, when we're talking, a couple of weeks away from the launch of the debut album, Become Like They Are. What do you guys have planned? I mean, I'm sure that the excitement is building within the band as well, given that we're just a few days away now. What should people that are following the band know about the release?
Well, we've got a, it's been a long road to get this album ready, you know, with COVID and jobs and families. So this is like a culmination of a couple years of the band. Mm-hmm. So it's just, this has been an awesome journey that we're just ready to finally have out there and ready to go. But we've got a bunch of merch, a bunch of things coming out. We've got a bunch of shows this summer, just trying to, back up the album with our faces and our presence and our live show.
So, hey, it wasn't even going to be a question, but now that you mentioned the merch, who did the artwork for this album? Because I really loved, I mean, it fits obviously a lot of the retro influences a lot, but who did that for you guys, and how did you get to this particular piece of work?
It was actually an artist. I think they reached out to me initially on Instagram, which happens quite often with artists, and you look at their stuff and most of it's amazing artwork. But this one had a particular niche towards that classic style that I really wanted, like some retro Nintendo kind of art for the album. The name is Apocalyptic Nuke from Indonesia, actually.
Okay, great, fantastic. Yeah, no, it worked out really well. So I mean, it's gonna look cool on t-shirts, and I saw that you guys printed some cassettes as well, which I mean, obviously I'm gonna have to add to my collection. This is quite an eclectic mix of sounds, and I know you've been working on that for a couple of years. Saf joined a little bit later, I believe. But where did this drive come from? To just kind of say, there's a rule book in music, in hard rock and metal. There's rule books to read the rule book, and we're just gonna throw them all away. We're not gonna care. Where did that come from?
I think I could probably answer, at least from my perspective. Me and Don have been playing music together forever, like 20 years or more, since we were probably still in high school almost. But I was in another band about 5-6 years ago, and Don approached me, actually maybe 7 years ago at this point in time, but Don approached me and he asked me a few different times if I wanted to play drums for a doom band. And I was putting it off for a while, but ultimately agreed to do it. So the idea was to be a doom band, or like stoner metal or something in that vein. And I feel like we wrote maybe one song that kind of fell into, what you could potentially classify as stoner or doom. And then we just did whatever the fuck we wanted to after that.
There are plenty of bands that try to combine a lot of things, and you'll have bands like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, for example, who will go like, hey, eclectic album, we have our doom song, we've got our folk song all of a sudden, but you guys do this all within the boundaries of one song. Like every song is a roller coaster that you take us on. Was that something appealing to you, Sav, to join? Because I know that you're writing the lyrics and you've got a lot of stories to tell. the music goes in a multiple different directions that allows you to also tell different sides of a story. Was that something that drew you to the band, or was there something else?
Well, I was playing in another band, and I had known Don for a while, and it's funny because I know him and I know he's a good musician, but I've always been the type to just do whatever I want, and I like to do a lot of different styles, and I've definitely been criticized for it before, like shoehorning too many things in, but it's just like I don't know any other way to do it. That's just
right.
That's how I do it, and I made sure I didn't listen to any Horned Wolf with the previous vocalist. He's a great vocalist. I just made sure I didn't want any bias.
Right.
I would listen to him, and what would come out was what would come out, and then they would be like, "Oh my God, like we never thought that it would go in that direction." And I was like,
"Right,
it's just kind of what happens. It's organic." And so then I go back and I listen to the previous vocals, to the completely different, and so I'm just glad I did that rather than have any bias. I don't like any rule book. I just kind of do what feels right. I like a lot of different things. That's how I knew this band was the band I wanted to be a part of, because you're just kind of free to do what we wanted to.
Prior to Sav joining the band, what we thought the band was and what it became once Sav joined were very different bands. Like, we already had almost all these songs written, and most of these songs had lyrics from our previous vocalist. Mm-hmm. When Sav joined, we said, do what you want. Don't try to learn somebody else's words. Put yourself into the songs. And Sav showed up to practice with lyrics, and we were just like, I don't even know what kind of band we are now, because that changes everything we thought we were. And we just kind of fell in love with ourselves all over again with the band. Like David said, we've been playing in bands for like 20 years together. We've always had this thing where we're too heavy for some, not heavy enough for the others. Yeah. It's kind of always been our thing. We love extreme music, but we also love shit like Kate Bush. So, we like to do a lot of stuff. But the audience reaction is like usually blows me away. Like the amount of comments and feedback we get like old school, like 50, 60-year-old traditional metal fans who are just like, dude, I heard some Sabbath or some Maiden in there. And then we get like, young kids who come up to us because we play some all ages shows, and they're like, man, this was so great. And it just connect the different aspects. So we haven't had a lot of negative comments and anything that I wouldn't, it wouldn't bother us. I mean, people have their thoughts and their feelings and their opinions, and our band isn't going to be for everybody. And that's kind of one thing I love about it.
I also think it kind of helps that metal in general, or metal fans in general, seem to be sort of shifting. Maybe it's like because of the internet and things are more accessible. But like death metal fans used to be death metal fans, and they wouldn't go to the other shows. Black metal fans like black metal, and so on and so forth. Like the subgenres were really like not completely segregated, but to some degree like they were. Like these days you'll see tours where, a few years ago, like Slipknot was on tour with Behemoth and Gojira. Like that freaked me out at the time. Like, cause I was like, what's going on? But it's this really neat thing in metal where like subgenres be damned, like metalheads like metal. Maybe they don't like every single thing within every single subgenre, but like, I feel like there's more of a unity aspect where people are kind of coming together, regardless of what they, strongly prefer.
Yeah.
So perhaps that works to our benefit too, because we're kind of, a weird mix of everything.
It is interesting, right? I mean, some of you already allude to it. Like the world of metal traditionally has been a bit of a weird place where it's like, well, you have to stand out and be unique, but don't be too unique, or else you're not what we expect from the definition, right? Now you mentioned, Don, I think you mentioned Maiden and Sabbath and Maiden. That kind of makes me think straight away to was it Drag the Bayou, where for me that's kind of like the what if scenarios. Like, what if Maiden was founded, in Louisiana versus in West Ham, London? Out of all the things that you guys do, clearly like 70s, let's call it psychedelica, but also just the harmonies of late 70s, early 80s. that seems to be the one constant throughout everything. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say so. I think with our other guitar player, Justin, he and I have such a good relationship as friends and musicians. We hang out all the time, so we think a lot alike. So we tend to dual guitar each other, you know? We have a great relationship. He'll write a sick riff, and then I'll run it through my brain and come out with these, you know, we collaborate that way. We'll both write sick riffs, and we'll kind of put it in the brain machine, and it comes out with this sound that we have, despite our very different backgrounds in metal as well. But just having a cool, fun, dual lead guitar stuff, people love that shit live. And I love doing it live.
The lyrics seem to go between people kind of owning up to stuff, but at the same time kind of condemning the adversity that they've had to endure and what have you. So you know, the songs or the stories that you're trying to tell, from whose perspective do they come? Maybe is the best way of asking.
Almost every, it's always from my perspective. It's all pretty much just things that I've gone through, lyrics that I've been writing for years, and I've been, like, I took all my golden lyrics and put them in this band. Like, I've been in other bands, and I would write music for them, but I always had these lyrics. I was saving them. I just saving them first at the right time, and now I've flooded this band with all of my special gold lyrics. So that's a good thing. It's always from my perspective. I write something real good happens, something real bad happens, something really big happens, and I write a song about it. And some of these lyrics are new, some of them are old. Like, some of them are like 10 years old, but I was saving them. They're all my...
So when you write these deeply personal lyrics, and you say, like, you know, sometimes something great happens and I write about something bad happens, I write about it. There's definitely some darker topics and deeper topics that you kind of, you know, get out of your system with these lyrics. And this is a question I've asked a few people, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that tend to write very personal and sometimes extremely vulnerable lyrics. When you then you put that out there, and all of a sudden that's not just your song anymore, but people are embracing that, and it becomes their song as well, and are liking those songs and want to hear those songs live. Having to perform those songs, or is that always a cathartic moment, or is there sometimes PTSD for you that, well, now I have to relive this whole thing again? Well, what's that like for you?
It's pretty cathartic. I think it's always an outlet for me. Like, it's just like, it's my outlet. Is like, I wrote the songs, playing them live. I can really get it out of my system. I could let out a lot of anger. I don't have an anger problem because I let it out on stage. There's one song.
Can I just say that the two guys started laughing a little bit when you said you didn't have an anger problem? So, I mean, not to start a fight here, but...
I'm feisty. I'm a little
I was
feisty.
laughing about letting it out on stage. I think we all let it out on stage. That's where we all...
I'm just teasing.
There's one song that can be a little difficult because it's newer and it's more fresh, and it's about the death, and death always sucks. So that one can be a little harder, but I would never not play it. Like, I feel like it's important. It's like a coping mechanism for me, and a healthy one to do it. It's kind of how I can face certain things that I don't like to think about.
Right.
Good for me.
Okay. So, Don and David, what's that like for you guys? Because, you know, you said before, like, some of these songs have been written a long time ago and they evolved. And then, you know, with Saf coming into the band, not only is the band no longer what you thought it was going to be, but then also these songs, that your art becomes all of a sudden something with a whole new dimension of meaning, where you know that, you know, a band member, a friend, is using that to channel some of those experiences. What's that like for you guys, seeing your music evolve to something completely different?
Personally, I really loved it, because there's a few songs that we've been playing for so long that to some degree it really breathes new life into it for me. And that's not to say anything about, you know, our former vocalist or anything about it's just it was really exciting that somebody came along and like injected this very personal part of themselves into something that I've created, you know. It made it feel very different because it's the same song and it sounds the same, with the exception of these new vocals, which obviously sound different, but it also felt very different and it felt very much more alive. And I mean, like, there is notoriously one song that I absolutely hate playing, and I tell the guys I fucking hate playing the song, but when we play it, like, it still sounds and feels amazing because of this new life that's been injected into it. So,
okay, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna ask you which song that is.
I'm not gonna tell you because I want the fans to love or hate songs on their own. But it's by you.
I'll just say it's my favorite. It's like my favorite one.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good one too.
It's actually the very first song we wrote as a band.
Maybe so, it's just the
played the longest.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I think so.
You know, the whole fan base is just going to divide itself in two camps. You know, like, who's with who? Who's with who?
Good, we can start a wall of death at the show.
Exactly, and then just see who survives. Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. I think it's a really exciting release, something that we don't see, you know, all the time. You know, I hope you all can take a few steps back in the next few days to really take in this cycle, because, you know, releasing that first debut album only happens once. It's a really cool album, and I really hope that you guys get to play a lot of shows with crazy packages, whether it's with Slipknot or Cypress Hill, because they're touring right now together. That'll be cool, and I hope that we get to see you on stages. Either we'll have to, I'm calling you from Toronto here in Canada, either we'll have to come down or you guys come up, but that would be super cool to see you guys take this on the road. Congratulations on a really unique and cool and strong album, and thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.